I was 9 years old, and I was diagnosed. I was like rushed to the hospital one day with like 104-degree temperature, and my back was killing me. I was in so much pain, and my mom rushed me to the hospital, and they said they couldn't find what was wrong with me. After at Egleston Children's Hospital, after a lot of research and specialists coming in, they realized that I had discitis, which is very rare for especially children. It's usually in adults or elderly people. So they said that I had that, and that I would either have to do pain medication or go into surgery. And back then, I don't know, my mom was just kind of nervous that it was, surgery, I could get paralyzed or anything. So we just chose to do it the pain medication route. And so I was introduced to it at a very early age. I didn't have my first kid till I was 27. We got married when we were 20. So he was overseas. He was in the military, and he was gone a lot. And he was also stationed in Fort Lewis, Washington. So he was gone a lot. When he came back, I moved up there, and I moved up there taking my addiction with me for about a year. And in that process, he would get pain pills. I found, of course, a dope boy up there to buy from and stuff. And then when I started having kids, I was 27 when I had my first son. I did use. I didn't realize I was even pregnant until I was 6 months along, and I found out, and I was using really bad on Roxy's, and I didn't tell my doctor. They didn't do the tests like they do now to make sure that you're not using drugs. They don't do that. They didn't do that back then. It was a struggle. I was always very ashamed that, my first son came out born addicted to pain pills. He had to stay in the hospital for a month after he was born, detoxing. They put him on, morphine right away. Yeah, at first, of course, I'm like, I'm not an addict, I can control this. I just, like to use. But in my mind, I did know that I was an addict. I just didn't want to admit it. I thought I, was better than everybody else, or I had control of it more than anybody else did. And then I said, well, I don't need meetings. I can control this without people and things like that. And of course, I couldn't. I had like years clean, and one thing happened, and I didn't have a safety net to fall back on. So I, of course, picked up. I was hanging around really bad people that didn't care about me or anything. They didn't care about themselves, really, so they wouldn't care about me. And there's a point where I almost died. I almost got killed from one person. They held me up for like 9 hours and beat me and tortured me and was taking me into the woods barefoot to die and be left in a ditch somewhere. And nobody would have looked for me. So, but I escaped, and, I don't have to be that person anymore. So, my husband and I thank every day Katie and Foundations to Freedom for what she's helped with my life. My husband has completely done. I told him, I said, you're either one extreme or the other, and I'm so happy you're this extreme, because the other was just horrible. And he is doing so well, and he's worked with Foundations now for a little bit, and he loves it. He loves what he does, and he's saving lives, so with Foundations is just a part of our life. It's our family now, it's at work, at home, we are a part of the community and part of Foundations to Freedom. I love that. I love my recovery, and I I'm so happy that I can get paid to preach about recovery too. You know, that's a blessing. I find that a blessing. So however I can grow, I plan on doing some schooling, and, you know, get like clinical addiction counseling classes, whatever it all entails. I want to start doing that so I can, you know, in my downtime when I'm driving clients around and such, you know, I can still, you know, do some learning and growing myself and then pass it on.